Can you beat Final Fantasy VII with only the initial weapons and armor? This means I have to stay with the Buster Sword, and some characters aren't even gonna have armor. I wanted to revisit Final Fantasy VII, and I was like, why not do a challenge? Cloud Strife was the name, and I was a mercenary. I was doing a job for some eco-terrorists, and they were lucky that a former first-class soldier such as myself was free. We start our journey with seeing how blind Shinra's security is, and we make our way through the reactor. Enemies were a piece of cake because I was there, and the female eco-terrorist mentioned a childhood friend, Tifa, and I had a flashback. We'd entered an elevator and the big eco-terrorist guy started talking about saving the planet and blah 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 blah. I didn't really care about saving the planet. If anything, I agreed with Shinra. I was only here because they was paying me, and I believe as humans, our only goal is to screw the planet any way we can. From there, we made our way to the heart of the reactor. I planted the bomb and we were attacked by a scorpion robot. This was easy since this was the beginning of the game. After beating the scorpion robot, the timer set off. I had 20 minutes to get out of the reactor and I was as calm as I could be. The big guy called me cocky because I set the timer to 20 minutes. If only he can see me now. We got out of the reactor, the bomb set off, and it took a great portion of Sector 1 with it. The female eco-terrorist, Jessie was her name, she was a little upset because the bomb took so much of Sector 1 with it, but I look at it as a total victory. The fact that she was able to make a bomb by herself that took that much of a city with it. If that's not a victory, I don't know what is. I walked through Sector 1 and I saw a crazy lady. Then it happened. My PTSD started kicking in. Once the woman asked if I was okay, it was gone. She gave me a flower and once she touched me, I was able to see what was bothering her. It was the Dementors. They must have come straight from Azkaban. Then the lady ran and took the Dementors with her. From there, I made it to the train and met back up with the terrorists. We made it to Sector 7 slums and we arrived to 7th Heaven. I saw Tifa again and I gave her the flower. But something was strange. That little girl wasn't that big guy's buried kid. I mean, she was Asian and he wasn't. Tifa offered to give me a place to stay, then I noticed Tifa grew in places, like her personality. She took me to the apartment and I was trying to go to sleep and the next door neighbor was loud as hell. I tucked my sword and I was ready to behead him. Nobody disturbs me in my sleep. I went to his room and my PTSD came again. I took out my sword and we gonna ignore that just happened. I was attacked by my PTSD, then I got him off of me and I was about to attack him. But then I was able to see there was a sick man. Tifa came out and I noticed that it was the Mako that did that to him. I woke up the next morning and it was payday. I went to 7th Heaven to get paid. Then Tifa said, come with her to collect the money. I should have charged her extra for this. Once we went to the weapons shop and they offered me the iron blade, I wanted to decline it, but Cloud really wanted to take it like an asshole. From there, I went around Sector 7 slums, did a few odd jobs, threatened a dumbass, and we went back to 7th Heaven for the rest of my money. In 7th Heaven, I had a drink and they said they'll pay me after they finish planning for the next reactor. Since I had time to spare, I went to the darts and I had to be first place, since I'm number 1. When I tell you, it took me 20 minutes of my entire gameplay time to get to first place, it's hilarious. And once I saw my name, Cloud, first place, I felt so great. They finished their meeting and they gave me the rest of my money. Then I left heading to the apartment. The moment I made it to the apartment, Jessie was there. I mean, she must know a shortcut because I left out way ahead of her. Jessie had a job for me and she was still upset at what happened in Sector 1. She said she wanted to make a bomb with less force, and to do this, I had to rob her parents' house. The fat guy, Wedge, and non-important guy, Biggs, joined us. I had an encounter with a soldier and we made it to Jessie's parents' house and I robbed them blind. Jessie also wanted to sneak into a Shinra base and for a second time I ran into that soldier guy. He said we'll meet again and I think I made a friend. From there the main avalanche unit showed up and we skydived to Sector 7. Biggs and Jessie wanted to race us but I had Wedge on my side. I went back to the apartment and nearly had my soul sucking out by a Dementor. Tifa came to my room and she said the moment they were about to leave, they were attacked by Dementors. Now I think this is a perfect time to mention this, but so far the hardest part of this entire challenge was literally materia slots. That not every character can have the materia I wanted them to have. We scared the Dementors off and as a last FU they pushed Jessie down the stairs. Jessie sprung her leg and because she sprung her leg, I was on a mission. I was happy I was getting paid again. We got on the train, we got trapped on the train, and now we have to walk to the reactor. We made it to Reactor 5 and the same thing that happened in Reactor 1 happened in Reactor 5 until Shinra activated activated the bomb. They wanted us to fight one of their newer robots and we destroyed the robot. I'm starting a trend with falling and I landed in a bed of flowers. I woke up to the flower girl and since I was a merc, she wanted me to be her bodyguard. But I told her I still had to get back to Sector 7. Then a man with red hair walked in and he was a Turk. What did the Turks want with her? The man's name was Reno and he was itching for a fight. I beat him down. The moment I was about to end him, my employer told me to stop. We got out of the church and from there we arrived at Sector 5. From there we helped out some kids, got the Shiva materia and we started heading to Aerith's house. While we were walking we ran into another Turk. His name was Rude and if he ever needed a body devil, I'm sure Andrew Tate was free. Rude was easy and I should mention this at this point. Armor was a small problem because it felt like they would hit me 3 or 4 times and my life would be in red. But it didn't make it hard whatsoever. We made it to Aerith's house and Aerith's mother told me that she didn't want Aerith going to Sector 7 with me. I was okay with this because I worked better alone and most people just get in my way. At night, I showed how great I was at sneaking. I left Aerith's house and I must have taken the long way because the moment I got out of Sector 5, Aerith was right in front of me. Aerith and I went through to destroy Sector 6 and we were almost mugged. The muggers must be idiots because they have to be blind not to see that giant sword on my back.
It's like, compensatory damages! Damages recompense!
Never mind, they were idiots. We beat the muggers and I decided to disrespect their bodies. We made it to the entrance of Sector 7 and we decided to stay at the park for a while. Aerith told me about her boyfriend and she asked if I knew him since he was a soldier. The only thing that was going through my head when she was talking about him was he seemed like the type of guy who wasn't in soldier but instead had a friend that was in soldier. And when that friend died, he erased the friend from his memories because PTSD and instead replaced the friend and his memories with him. The hell did that come from? I played in the park and was about to say goodbye to Aerith, then the Sector 7 gates started opening. It was Tifa. She said she was going to Walmart to get information out of Don Cornell. I figured Tifa would be okay, but Aerith said that Don is not the kind of person you would want to see alone. We went to the Don's house and a guy at the door said that only women can go inside and they can only go inside if they have a permission from one of these 3. Chocobo guy, male stripper, or Thai massage. First we went to the Chocobo guy and got cheated. We went to the male stripper and they said to see him we will have to wait 3 years. So we headed to Thai massage. At first she thought we were there for massages and she quickly showed she had an anger problem. Then she said she would give me a massage but it wasn't free. And since I wasn't a brokey, I got the most expensive massage. She gave me a happy ending and I felt rejuvenated. I didn't know how much tension I had until that moment. Then she said if we win the Cornell Cup, she'll make Aerith look like a million gil. We went to the Cornell Cup, beat the first guy, and I felt bad since he looked like he was gonna give up on life after that. Then our next opponent was those idiots that tried to mug us. I could've swore I killed them. They were easy and then we move on to the last opponents. And we destroyed them quick. Then Madam M came into our room and she said Cornell liked us so much that he wanted to add another opponent. She seemed upset but I was fine with it since the last people were easy. Enter the Hell House. I thought the Hell House was gonna be harder, but it was just the Hell House. At this point, I noticed that this challenge was literally just like playing the game with a little handicaps. Even though the Buster Sword had some faults, it wasn't a bad weapon. And I felt like it was too late to go back and do another challenge. We beat the Hell House and we went back to Madam M. Madam M threatened me and I went around Walmart. I beat everyone at this gym in squats. I went back to Madam M and the dumbass came. And from there we went to Cornell's mansion. Aerith came and she looked amazing. Not quite $1 million bucks, but she still looked great. And I wish I would have tucked longer so she can look better, but she still looked great. And I wonder why I don't have a girlfriend. And I say shit like that. Aerith said she had a plan to get me inside of Cornell's mansion, and I followed her to the Honeybee Inn. Once she told me the plan, I tried to leave, but something was forcing me to stay. So I was forced to go through with the plan. I wish I didn't because I had to dance stupid. They put me in a dress and they made me wear makeup. Now, I don't agree with dropping a plate on any spot, but since they put me in a dress, Shinra should drop a plate on Walmart. And I wanted to break Aerith's leg after this. From there we went to Don Cornell's mansion. We showed our permission slips and we were gassed. We found Tifa And now Cornell's audition time. Cornell picked me. Because Cornell picked me, I promised to kill any chance of him having kids. My soul was teleported into Aerith, and Tifa and I made it to Cloud. We gave Cloud his clothes, and Cornell seemed okay with the fact that Cloud was a guy. My soul went back to Cloud, and Tifa started asking Cornell questions. Cornell was reluctant to answer her, and I said, answer her and I'll cut your jewels off. Then he said, don't you mean or? I just looked at him, because I know what I meant. Cornell started telling us everything about Shinra's plan to drop the plate. I looked at the plan as impossible because Shinra execs are dumb, but they aren't that dumb to drop the plate just to get rid of Avalanche. Then we fell for a Cornell trap. I was pissed because Cornell slipped from my hands, but we had to get to Sector 7 just in case. We made it out of the sewer, then we made it to Sector 7. We saw Barrett and the rest of Avalanche fighting Shinra. Shinra really were planning on dropping the plate. Wedge fell and I started going up to the plate's controls. Then I ran into Biggs. He was hurt and he most likely wasn't gonna make it. Promised Biggs I was gonna give Shinra a beating for him. I continued to go up and my soul was transported back into Aerith. Tifa told me about a little girl named Marlene and she wanted me to get her out of Sector 7. She also added that the little girl was in a shop called 7th Heaven, and Tifa decided to go up to the place control, and Wedge and I convinced 2 Shinra security to open a gate to Wall Market. They were most likely fired after that. I went on to 7th Heaven and it was like nearly everything was getting in my way. It's like fate didn't want that little girl to survive. I made it to 7th Heaven and Marlene doesn't know the meaning of stranger danger. As we walked out, Sung came. I knew what he wanted. Sung wanted my body. I asked him for a favor and my soul went back into Cloud. Tifa came, we started to head up and we heard an explosion. We made it to where the explosion was at and it was Jessie, and she was dying too. Jessie still owed me a pizza and I couldn't let her die until she gave me my pizza. Then I noticed she wasn't gonna make it. I promised to kick Shinra's ass for her. We made it to the controls in Barrett, and I know this is a weird time to mention this, but how did they get the helicopter under the plate? Anyway, we fought Reno and Rude. I could have handled them by myself, but Tifa and Barrett really wanted to get in my way. Reno and Rude were a little harder than usual, but nothing special. And we failed. Rude was able to drop the plate. We had to hurry up and get out of there before we were crushed. And from there we decided to go to Aerith's house for Barrett's kid. Once we made it to Aerith's house, Aerith's mother had the same look on her face that I had. There is no way that's his kid. She was Asian and he wasn't. Then Aerith's mother began to tell us everything about Aerith and why Shinra wanted her. We told her we were going to bring Aerith back, but first we had to figure out a way to get topside. We did a few odd jobs, then we got help from one of Cornell's former guards after we helped him. We got topside and looking down at Sector 7, I get that Shinra were trying to pin this on Avalanche, but they could have did anything else. Were they even thinking on how much they were gonna pay on damages alone? We made it to Shinra headquarters and I decided to take the stairs because I hate my life. We made it to the 59th floor. The mirror assistant came when we were on the 61st floor and he took us to the mirror office, which was on the 62nd floor. And the mirror upgraded our keycard to the 63rd floor. He said on the 63rd floor, we would find a guy who would give us a keycard to the 64th floor where the Shinra execs were having a meeting. So our plan was to follow the sick human being Hojo to his lab after the meeting. We met the guy, he gave us the keycard. The guy knew me from the days I was working with Shinra, but I just don't remember making friends with the lower class. We made it to the 64th floor and we spied on the Shinra execs meeting. Now I always knew that Reeves was the only smart Shinra exec, but he was proving it in this meeting. Polymer was talking about God knows what, and the rest of the execs were talking about Midgard 2.0. Like, how the hell are they gonna make a Midgard 2.0 while still paying for the Sector 6 and 7 damages? And they love throwing money in the trash. For an example, the cannon that only points in one direction. And these are the people running Midgard. After the meeting, we followed the worst human being to his lab. We took Hojo hostage and fell for another trap. Wow, we really like falling for traps, don't we? We made it to Aerith and we freed her. We met a dog thingy and he seemed nice, but he really hated Hojo. I know why he hated Hojo and I know what goes on at the Hojo lab. The only thing I'm praying is that that didn't happen to Aerith. I passed out and I woke up in Aerith's childhood room. Dan, Demir, and Wedge called. They said go to the roof and a helicopter will be waiting for us there. And they also added we wouldn't have a problem traveling through the Hojo lab. We started leaving, then we made it. We made it to Hojo's love and Shinra's biggest secret, Jenova. I remember hearing about Jenova from Sephiroth, then my PTSD No, it wasn't. It was actually him. I don't know how he survived, but he wasn't making it out of here.
A touching reunion.
I got up, Hojo made us play a game, and throughout the game, my soul spent bouncing between Tifa and Cloud. After, we made it to the president's office when we began to hear someone screaming for help. It was the president. We helped the president and Barrett began to give the president a list of demands. The president ran to his desk, he pulled out a gun and he aimed it at Barrett. I may look at the president as a dumb leader, but I had to admit he had some serious balls from pointing the gun at Barrett while the rest of us were around. Then the president was stabbed by Sephiroth. Then Sephiroth moved to Barrett and stabbed him as well. Then he said, Jenova Dreamweaver, I choose you. We beat Jenova Dreamweaver and Sephiroth escaped with the rest of Jenova. The Dementors brought Barrett back. We made it to the roof and the helicopter went kaboom. Rufus Shinra came. He was the vice president and the head of the Turks. I'm sure Rufus was the happiest that his dad was dead. I beat Rufus and I failed for the 700th time. Tifa saved me and my soul transported into Barrett. Now this boss was a little hard, but again, nothing special. From there we escaped Shinra headquarters and we made it to the Midgard border. Sephiroth came and he told us that he wanted to end the world or something like that. Then he left. Then Aerith said, remember what Red and I told you about the Dementors? How they were fate? If we continue on this path, we'll be going directly against fate. Well, I guess it's time to kick fate's ass. Not much happened with the Whisperers, but once we beat them, Sephiroth came. He pushed everyone away and at the end, it was just me and him. Now it was time to end this. While fighting Sephiroth, I noticed there was something weird about him. I just couldn't put my finger on it. Aerith came to join the fight. Sephiroth pinned us, then Barrett saved us. Once we beat Sephiroth, he was about to attack, then Tifa blocked his attack. You know, I was glad they were here because I don't know if I would be able to beat Sephiroth on my own. I ran up to Sephiroth to deliver the final blow, then we were able to talk. He wanted me to join him, but I couldn't join a monster like him for free. He gave me a time limit and then he left. After that, we all agreed to go after Sephiroth because we cannot allow a monster like him to roam around. Now to answer the question, can you beat Final Fantasy VII Remake with only the starter weapons? Yeah, and it's not even that hard. The no armor was a problem, but it wasn't that big. But I am glad I did this challenge because it was kinda chilled and it was in between two really hard challenges. The knife only challenge and the next challenge is coming up. But the hardest part of this challenge and the most annoying part of a lot of my challenges is stick drift. Both of my controllers have stick drift and it gets on my nerves. But this was like a recap for Rebirth, and I will be coming out with another Final Fantasy VII Remake video and a Rebirth video sometime in the future. And if you like Resident Evil 2, you can check out my channel for my 2 Resident Evil videos. I'm also coming out with a God of War Ragnarok Fist Only challenge, so you can be waiting for that. Anyway, if you made it this far, you might as well give the video a like, and you can spread your love to the subscribe button. And if you have any ideas on any other further challenges, write it down in the comments. This is something I'm going to be doing at the end of each one of my videos. But don't care what nobody says about you, you're amazing. But it never hurts to be a little better every day. Anyway, I've been Tess, and I'll see you on the next challenge.